What up? Hi. Today it was definitely a processing day. It was a tough day. Last night was tough too, as it should be. I think every great adventure, so far at least in the last year and a half, all these things I've done, and this by far was as tough as it got. It was my favorite so far. Yeah, I thought, I wrote about this and all that. I thought maybe it's time to take a break for a little bit, just take a pause. But this is where the most emotions have come, and it's also a lot of processing. I processed a lot today. Luckily, I wasn't super swamped because I was definitely distracted. Never want an adventure to end, but sometimes they do. And so I thought a lot about the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I'm truly grateful on how this one ended. It could have ended differently. I really thank this one for ending the way it did. It took a lot of strength and courage. I know that. I may not know everything, but I do know that. I like to believe that was pretty tough. So I take my hat off to that way it ended. That was a big act of kindness, in my opinion, to do what was done. And so when I think back to everything, what I would say is when we go about doing things, when I always say I look back and I think, no, I gave it my all, everything, more than I've ever given something. I gave it my all. And yeah, there was a lot, but I don't regret it. I asked myself, would I go back and do certain things differently? And based on the outcome, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think it would have. Because ultimately, that was the way it had to go. So, yeah, I'm pretty sore. I feel like I got my ass kicked. I do. I feel like I got my ass kicked. But at the same time, I am so fucking grateful that I got the opportunity to enjoy this adventure the way I did. Some of it was an enjoyment. There was some sleep lost in a lot of this, and I don't regret that either. Would I do it again? In a fucking heartbeat. 20 fucking times. For it to begin and end the way it did. As painful as some of it was, not knowing and all that stuff, I would do it all over again. And that just tells me that I was all in. And sometimes, in my past, I would be, resentful, and I would blame, and I would, all this other shit. And there's a lot of stuff that there's nothing worth blaming in this situation. It was in this adventure. It was wonderful. And I don't regret it. Not one bit. I got to see some things the way I got, the things that I got to experience, all of that. Some glimpses of what I feel like, you know, like I remember writing this list down of things, and I asked myself, I told myself, that's what you deserve. And I got to experience it for a little bit. And I'm grateful for that too. And then I got to see myself really do my best to be the best version of myself. And there's no question about it. Like, should I? Is it worth it? None of that popped into my head. It was just like, boom, this is what you do. Go. This is how you will be. And so it lets me know that I can be that way too. And in all my years, I don't think I've ever put that much effort into anything. Yeah, my recovery. But I put the same effort I put into my recovery, and it really brought me closer to God too, to my higher power. And what I mean by that is it really had me leaning on my higher power too, like just really diving in, and I'm grateful for that too. And I recorded one this morning, and I posted it and then I took it down because I didn't feel like I was in the proper headspace. I hadn't processed it correctly, and I'm still going to process for a little bit here, but I got to really process and ask myself some questions. You know, was I trying to gain? Sure. I mean, I found something that, you know, like I wanted pretty bad, because of what I saw and how I was treated. So of course, like, that's human to want that, but so I don't regret that either. I don't regret the want. When I think back to the things I said, I don't regret that either. Like, I don't think I once did anything like, if I do this, I'll get that, you know. That's just the way I know I can be. And it let me see a side of myself that I do like. I've always been so reserved in that sense. You know, so worried. So, going all in, like all in, and then doing things to try to create some joy, to try to help take that dark and provide some light. Yeah, that's the way you do it. That's the way I would have wanted it done for me when I was in my dark. Yeah, and I'm grateful that I got an opportunity to do that. Sure, it may not have ended the way I wanted it to end, and I sure had a lot of hope that it wouldn't end, but I'm so grateful that I worked through it the way I did too. And I'm also grateful for the way it ended. And So, to my favorite adventure so far, thank you. Thank you. Never thought in a million years that I'd get to experience what I experienced. And it also showed me what I'm capable of. Like, I didn't want to get loaded. I never thought about getting loaded. And that was like the most intense in the year and a half, the little over a year and a half that I've experienced. That was probably the most intense. I don't want to experience that again. Don't get me wrong. But to experience what I did get to experience and had to feel like that, yeah, sure, all day, in a fucking heartbeat. Shit was fucking. Of all the mountains that I've climbed, of all of the terrain that I've been able to go to, and I like to think that the journeys that I've done, not the basketball, not the volleyball, not the Halloween party, and if you don't know, you don't know, but each mountain and each adventure that I've done, from Heather Lake to Staircase, the rapids, Rattlesnake, over that edge, all of it, where I was like, this is fucking breathtaking, paradise. This adventure was the most beautiful, by far, the most rewarding, except for when I compare it to those things, it's like seeing the beauty and then having to climb, and then having to climb up for it to end. Like getting dropped off at the destination and then having to do the climb to where I got in my car and then had to go. And every one of those climbs that I've done, every one of those terrains that I've done, they were all worth that. So was this. It taught me a lot about myself. It put like all my insecurities and everything to that point, and to a point of like where I, like, even my skin was crawling at a point, and what it did is it showed me how I would handle it, how I would talk to myself when I did want to feel certain ways. Like today, I didn't get on social media to find like this answer. I didn't go through my reels to find this answer. I sat with myself and thought about it and processed it, asked myself questions. Not once did I feel anger or resentment or doubt. I felt like I did my best. And like in the 4 Agreements, it says, always do your best. And in that book, it says, if all the other things don't work out, this is the one agreement that's the most important. And I agree with that. Be impeccable with your word. That has to be, to yourself and to others. I didn't lie to myself either, and I didn't lie to others. But the taking things personally and not assuming anything, well, I fucking failed there. Totally. That's okay. That's okay. That's part of the. You're not gonna get them all right. I didn't get it all right, but at least I gave it my fucking best, and I didn't lie in the process of any of it. And I can hold true to that. So, all in all, it was wonderful. And even though today I was in a fog, even though today I was sad, and even though today sucked, it was worth the journey. I didn't sit back and say, well, if I'd have done this and I'd have done that, if that changes the outcome, knowing what I know now, no. And there were times in the last couple of months I asked myself, you know, like if you could enjoy this adventure a different way, but it would change certain things, would you do it? No. I got to show the best version of myself. I got to show the worst version of well, not the worst, but I got to show some pretty bad versions of myself too, I think. I didn't count, but it's probably 55 of those things that I sent out. A lot. But when I think about all the things I said, they're not terrible. They were just expression. And I have a friend that if they're watching this, thank you. From like my soul, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for kindness, for strength. That was motherfucking strong as fuck. And for the care. It means a lot to me. I'll never forget it. It'll always hold dear to me. And for giving me a shot of your friendship. And so now, you know, like, I got an opportunity to walk away from that adventure in grace, hold a little bit of integrity, hopefully a lot. I'll look back and see how much of that was there, and with some dignity, even though it may not seem like it, there's some dignity that it was left. And yeah, I gained a lot out of that. And so yeah, as I feel like my ass got kicked, and you know, I didn't break my routines. I still showed up. I didn't want to go to work today. I wanted to just kind of like take today off, but it's the last day of the month, and I'm glad because I got to really process and think about it. And you know, I know there's a lot more to the journey to come, but this one showed me a lot, and it was wonderful. I'm so glad I got to experience this adventure, for sure. And I'm not as bad as I thought I could be. And I'm in a much better headspace than I thought I would have ended up in. So, thank you. And I hope my friend is doing okay too. congratulations. Seriously, congratulations.